Okay, I've got the red button of liveness. Welcome, everybody. It's another week, another data center news show, and we're going to be talking about AI retrofits and how the existing data centers can retrofit their things to meet the AI workloads. But before we get starting to talk about that, I will let my guests introduce themselves. And we got a newbie in the crowd, so Ryan, you get to go first, sir. Introduce yourself.
All right, sounds good. Ryan Gruber. I am the president of the Arizona AFCOM chapter. Happy to be here, Amy.
Thanks for coming. And
Joshua Feinberg from DCSMI, the Data Center Sales and Marketing Institute, and host of the Data Center Go-To-Market podcast. And as always, thanks for hosting and the invite, Amy.
Sure thing. And our sponsor, hey, Andy.
Hi, Andy Erda with Ellis Electric America.
Very cool. Thank you. And Sean.
Hey everyone, Sean Farney, VP of Data Center Strategy for JLL, where I help our clients figure out all this type of stuff, all this tech stuff, particularly retrofitting existing footprints to accommodate GPU density.
Yes, very cool. And Howard Berry.
Howard Berry, Avison Young. I'm a data center. Oh, it's not working. Sorry.
Yeah,
you're a data center.
Howard Berry, Avison Young. I don't know if you can hear me.
We can hear you.
We got you, Howie. You're here. He's with AY, and he usually has land with power, but today he wants to make a deal. I always got delay. Okay, all right, let's get started. So there was a lovely stat, and I should be a better host and have it ready. Okay, so Uptime Institute found that 68% of enterprise data centers were built before 2015, which there might be a lot of those, can't support the modern AI workloads. Yet 82% of those suckers have 10 years left on their leases. And so what are they going to do? I don't know. Microsoft just recently spent $1 billion retrofitting facilities to handle this. So we're in the middle of this. Can we take an existing data center? So we're going to start with that topic, and I'm going to throw that one out to the crowd. So what are you seeing in the market? So I'll start with Ryan. Go for it, bud. What are you seeing? How are you managing the AI craze with your stuff?
Managing the AI craze with my stuff, it's pretty much right now working mainly with the cloud. Is trying to figure out, going into my own particular facilities. I know how I would do it. I have certain spaces designated where I could do the retrofitting very cleanly versus have to try to fit in the middle of existing server rows. If I were to go insert a bunch of AI into my own data centers, but right now, as an enterprise operator, still looking at like the AWS's, the Azure's, all that primarily for our AI needs. So it's really still very much outsourcing it.
Really interesting. Yeah. What are you seeing, Sean?
I see the hypers are building the dense specs, but largely outsourcing their GPU facilities to folks like CoreWeave and Nebius and others, which is really interesting. Colocation folks are hybridizing, so they're having to strand space to create AI rentable inventory in existing facilities. Enterprises, of course, a data center built before 2015 can't support modern AI workloads. Thank you, Uptime Institute. It's pretty obvious, right? Because they're old, and we've been telling them to send everything to the cloud for a long time. So mechanical and electrical was not great to begin with. I'm seeing a lot of clients do retrofits, liquid cooling retrofits, because moving into inference where monetization happens, and they have to do it for test dev and their product sets, would much rather do it on-prem. It's a cheaper proposition actually versus renting it over time. And that retrofit is, let's pull a number out of a hat, $3 million a megawatt to retrofit to liquid cooling, depending on a lot of stuff. But that's very popular right now in order to accommodate these loads without having to go outside for it.
So how do they source the power? How are they sourcing the power? Like
It's stranded. It's already there because starting 10 years ago, folks like me started moving all the load out to the cloud, right? And the enterprise data center was never reclaimed, and it's just sitting there, space and power sitting there. So now it's actually a valuable resource. If you've got 2 or 3 or 4 megawatts in a large space, you can retrofit and build your test dev environment, your lab environment for AI inferencing with your own GPUs for over time less than it would cost to rent that out. So that's a valuable proposition. And then an offshoot of that is if the data center is so bad and so old that it won't accommodate the retrofit, which can be a thing, you just throw a module out in the parking lot and run fiber. That's a really easy pop-up GPU environment for 1, 2, 3, 4 megs.
Interesting. But don't they have to have access to some sort of chiller system? I mean, the pop-up ones, even that are they're all self-contained. They're coming with their own like chiller systems.
Maybe depends.
Yeah.
Or yes, access. The chiller plant. There's chiller plant integration. So if you have a chiller plant that's 20 years old, which is not old for a chiller plant in some cases, if you've done good maintenance, you can leverage it. There's a lot of depends there. I guess the top level takeaway is that enterprises, forward-looking enterprises know, gee, we got to do inference. It's important. Our competitors are going to do it. It's really spendy if I try to do that in the cloud or there's latency issues there. I got 3 megawatts over there. It's sitting there. I could turn this into my test dev environment, and there's attractive leasing options for equipment and all that type of thing. And if you're in a Class A building, you can leverage that chiller plant, or do all in one modular solution.
Interesting. Yeah, that's cool. Howie, what are you seeing from a leasing side as folks try to? Are they you lease out for different colo folks, right? Are they transitioning quickly to AI, or is it a little more involved? What are you saying?
Yeah, anywhere. And am I breaking up or is it working here?
We're good.
I had a worse signal today. Anyway, okay, good. I turned everything off. So it's interesting because we see these older spaces that maybe they're in an office building. And owners look at it and go, look, I have valuable infrastructure in my building, and it's probably a bunch of racks with in-rack UPS, not enough cooling and no backup generators. And we tell them like they're to scrap it than to bring it back up to operational condition. And it's a lot of owners don't want to hear that, but and a lot of these older spaces are getting refreshed. Apply for additional power. If there's 2-3 years left in the lease, the owners are typically going out and applying for additional power. Then they just do upgrades and refresh these older data center sites because they're completely valuable.
Interesting. Yeah. From a power perspective, Andy, are you seeing most of your stuff is new build, right? Driving your stuff, or are you seeing retrofit?
Yes, sort of. But remember, we sell a lot of components that go to a bunch of people that build switch gear, and a lot of them do custom gear. And a lot of gear that's custom tends to go into older facilities, not only data centers, but hospitals or factories to fit into a certain space. So being an ex-service guy from Schneider, I'm very familiar with this, is it rip and replace, or do you do retrofit and retrofills? This is the kind of terminology that I feel comfortable discussing very much. But I would like to say specifically on data centers, what I've found out recently is something that I actually had a chance to talk to a very large bit mining company in Washington, D.C. that's in the process of looking at a hybrid design where they can run AI data center. And when the AI data center is slow, they can do their crypto mining. And then that's their kind of their they're golden, what they want to look for, because they want to have like a solid state, a flat platform of power usage and computing power, and a percentage going to a bit mining and a chunk of it going to AI data center, depending on what the loads in the data center require. So I thought that was quite interesting, and I'm happy to share that with you. I won't share who the company was, but I will share that philosophy. I think that's something that's out there. I would just like to say I have had some discussions with people that refer to an expansion on a current facility where they're actually actually putting up a new structure and bringing in new equipment. They have referred to that as brownfield, which I don't call that brownfield. That's greenfield if you're building a new structure. Brownfield is when you're staying within the same building or modifying it somewhat, but not a whole brand new building. So for this argument, we're talking about retrofits is brownfield in my mind. So there's a lot of different ways you can do that. I mean, there's some very talented people that can replace a lot of old gear and get it up to higher capacity very quickly. And there's different types of switches that can be replaced by, even a breaker to give you more compatibility. But we have a lot of good OEM partners that we work with that buy our components to do that. Our systems group does focus mostly on greenfield today, but I'm sure over time that will change as the market matures.
So has anyone ever lived like during a house remodel? Like your house is being remodeled and you're living in it? That sounds like brain damage to me to have to be doing inside of a data center that you have to keep up, like you have SLAs and whatever, and you have to keep everything running, and then you have to, the dust and how do you manage? How do you do that? How do you manage that? Like, does anyone know?
It's a big opportunity for the cleaning and the decontamination companies. Need to pretty much be on site, nonstop on the hour.
Yeah, I know.
These retrofits are interesting. What I used to see a lot more of, and I think the nature of who buys them now has changed quite a bit. What I used to see 10 years ago is the entrepreneurial co-location owner, which in many cases was very similar to like a managed service provider. They would have they'd buy a bank or a formal textile factory or a former bank's data center or a storage place or something. And they put these data centers in really odd places because they got such a good deal on the real estate. But now they're competing against massive amounts of capital flowing into edge. And these are perfect places for edge operators to buy because they're small and they're in unusual locations. They have power. There's no community fighting it. It's kind of like if you think about a spectrum between like commissioning and decommissioning are polar opposites, and the retrofit is like somewhere in between. And Andy, I've seen the same thing many times as what you were describing as well. The crypto miner wants to get into AI because they think the grass is greener. But there's a lot of common characteristics between the crypto entrepreneur and the would-be AI entrepreneur, where they're just trying to chase a higher yield.
Yeah, interesting.
Everyone wants to be a data center developer.
Is crypto even profitable now? Like, are they doing it because it doesn't make any money anymore? Or are they? I don't know. But they got a lot of power. They got a lot of stuff. You want to jump in, Ryan? Jump in.
Made a career of selling semiconductor in Silicon Valley into data centers, and in the
No, I was gonna say I do a ton of
brownfields that they're contaminated. You can't put anything else on them, and data centers are perfect.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, I was gonna say I do a ton of retrofitting in the day job, and it's very nerve-wracking. You've got to be extremely careful. All your mops, all your SOPs, all your EOPs. You've got to be ready for disaster at all times. Got to make sure everyone in the business is aware what you're touching, when you're touching it. Lots of overnights. It's a lot. And I do this not so much in my core sites, but my edge sites. Of course, my edge sites is the closest to my customers, and I've got very mission critical things, so I'm not allowed to go offline. It's hair raising, but takes a high degree of discipline and a team you can trust.
Yeah, interesting. So when you, Sean, since you're going to have to jump in a little bit, so what do you see is the biggest opportunity for folks if they're retro? Is it just speed to market, or what might it be?
Depends on the use case or customer. The enterprise isn't necessarily worried about time to market or time to revenue. It's more of a time to capability and cost of capability over time. So that, again, the prescient ones are looking out 5 years. I got to do this. Here's what it's going to cost if I keep trying to do inference in the cloud, or I can't do it for whatever reason, whatever technical reason. Let's say it's latency. Whereas my co-location and hyper customer, it's all about, because of the Wall Street visibility and pressure now to deliver against promised capacity, it is truly a GPU arms race. Time to revenue is everything, and we're seeing the resurgence of adaptive reuse / retrofit, because that gives you the ability to get to revenue faster. And the neo clouds, it's even more niche. I can sell all day long. I can sell spaces to neo cloud operators, but it's got to be ready in 9 months or less. It's a very finicky customer type. So those folks they will take a retrofitted facility of any sort, whether it's adaptive reuse or just retrofitting a data center, but it's got to be delivered quickly. They are funded well, but the risk profile is much different. It's not necessarily an A credit tenant in backing.
Right.
So they need to get to revenue very, very fast to replenish what they're investing to build. So it's really an interesting market right now with all these different use case dynamics. In general, time to market is driving everything, and I would even put it ahead of power right now. Or it is, time to market is the driver of the concern around power in the site selection space, which is a whole different podcast.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah, true. So the load profiles will change. So is when you're doing a retrofit, say from a normal CPU workload, regular data storage, whatever it might be, and then you want to add an AI workload, now do you have to go back to the utility and tell them, like, hey, if you're because that load profile changes.
Generally,
And-
no, not for existing load. But there are things you can and can't do. You have to stay within code. If you stay within code, you're not going to impact transmission and delivery of a utility because of your oscillating power draw. If you are, there's something wrong with your gear, and you did something very, very wrong, and stuff will go very, very badly.
Okay.
Inside of the data center, you will see issues with equipment, particularly batteries, where you're reaching out and touching equipment you haven't before because of the bursty nature of this load. And we saw similar harmonics issues 15, 20 years ago at scale. Different issue, but similar impact, and something new that we had to kind of engineer around at scale. This is just a different thing to figure out, but we've got smart folks like Andrew and others who we can do this. We can insert battery buffers, so to speak, and there's a note about that, and I like that. And it's a good topic.
Yeah.
Different load, different profile, but that's okay. We're all our smart double E's. We'll figure this out.
Yes, they will. Yes, they will. So as we think through on the retrofit, yes, talking about batteries and the gray space and the white space and all the changes of the spaces, right? If you're doing AI workloads and you have you're trying to shuffle between what you're having to support the servers versus the servers themselves, and that must be tricky when you're doing retrofits. Ryan, what have you seen? What are the challenges you're seeing there as far as looking at some of those things?
So trying to support the servers during retrofits.
Yeah.
Lots of temp power cords. I mean, when it comes down to it, I got to keep the equipment gear. I got to keep it online. So it's dropping new receptacles, new SO cords, spider box, whatever it takes to keep things online. In the day job, I don't have a choice. It's got to stay online. So it is temp power feeds. I've had some crazy stories, some stuff years ago where we had to, put people on spacesuits, go to those ATSs, refeed ATSs on the go. Again, hair raising stuff, but I'm not allowed downtime. So you have to look at the designs. You have to make a call. Maybe you can go down for like an hour, do temp feeds. It's a lot.
Yeah. Lots of extension cords.
Lots. Oh my goodness. And yeah, you can't, and for short periods of time, because again, don't want to violate code.
Yeah.
Ryan, something you mentioned kind of piggybacks on something that Sean mentioned. I'm wondering the role of the modular data centers. Is that the key to all of this? Is that if they have a modular data center in the parking lot, are they kind of like shifting stuff out there temporarily for a couple of weeks to buy them some time to do the construction? Is that happening on a regular basis? I get like these entrepreneurial modular data center builders that come to me from time to time. They have all these crazy go-to-market ideas they bounce off of me. Like, is this one of them that they're missing?
I could definitely see that as a potential option. The problem is in what I normally deal with. I'm dealing with hospitals, to be frank, and I'm dealing with the edge sites are literally stacked. I've got literally hundreds of edge sites within a larger building. And that real estate is a premium. So it is working around, the doctors, the clinicians, the staff, and you do what you have to do. I do like the modular idea. I've actually floated that with some of my projects, shipping out the actual like more server loads, but network, which I have to deal with a lot. Nope. No, you're gonna violate your permanent link thresholds on your low voltage. So it's you cover things with plastic extension cords and do your best. Bubble gum and duct tape. I swear.
Yeah. No, I know. It's crazy. So Les, we've been talking a lot about this. This is an electrical one. This whole thing about high voltage DC, all of that stuff. That it was the topic du jour at several, and Andy at an LS talked about higher voltage stuff at Data Center World, which was awesome. Does this have come to play in anything into the retrofit game? Does high voltage DC do any of that? Andy, I'll let you take that.
I'm off of mute. Yeah. So I think that DC basically, from what I can tell, if we just look at traditional medium voltage transformer and look at the solid state transformer that we have under beta right now, it is basically takes up about a third of the space of the traditional transformer for the same capacity. And we're still under development. The one I saw physically in Redmond, Washington, that we brought out there to show to Microsoft was a trade show that was kind of a small trade show that LG and LS companies were invited to. It basically it was air cooled, and the next generation we're working on right now is water cooled, of course, for higher capacity. So we'll have to see if the same space requirements play out on that. I hope it does, because in retrofits or even new builds, especially depending on where the building is located, land is costly, square footage is costly. So if you can have a smaller package that has higher capacity, then that's a win. That's the reason why NVIDIA is bringing out their new chips that will be powered by DC, and you can have a much higher capacity. So I think that, yes, you're seeing the DC move into the retrofit space. I'm not sure if there's going to be enough available for the retrofit space initially, because I think all the mega companies are going to want to use that to get the efficiencies of the power, because as you mentioned before, there's a saving somewhere in the 10 to 15% of your power usage going from AC to DC. So if I think there's going to be a big demand until, like everything that we have, the supply chain in product catches up to the demand, or the demand weakens, the relax a little bit so the supply chain can catch up. An example on high voltage, though, last week, one of our Wyatt asked me about high voltage transformers, and I didn't have the answer off the top of my head, but I did get back to him. And
Yeah.
our lead time on those, even though we doubled our factory last year, is 3.5 years. And he came back and said, well, that's not so bad because what he's been quoted is actually 12 to 15 months longer than that. So that's kind of where we are on that. But it really, they would have to bring in some new power requirements, or if they did have high voltage lines available, and you were going to tap into that, that would have to be coordinated, I'm sure, through the power company. But like I said, high voltage products are way out there right now. It's just it's a struggle, especially because all the utility companies and mega scalers have purchased a lot of them for their builds.
Yeah. So Howie, when you get a retrofit site that comes across your desk, what are you seeing most of? Is it like an old Carrier hotel? Is it an old like industrial place? What are you seeing that might make sense for to retro, or just as an old data center? I mean, what makes the most sense to retrofit?
Enterprise data centers that they're migrating now because they don't want to do a refresh. They move to the cloud. Completely valuable if you can get more power to the site. Typically, these sites are maybe 3 to 10 megawatts. Majority of data centers across the country were built at 10 megawatts of power, not these hundreds of megawatts. So we're looking to taking the capacities up to at least 25 megawatts of 20 to 25 critical load. And if you have that capability, it's absolutely valuable. Do you take a 1 or 2 megawatt data center and refresh it? That's hard to say. If it's really well located, it could be worth it. But if not, it might be better to scrap it.
Interesting. So does the ability to do on-site power generation change that equation at all?
I haven't seen that.
No?
Yet in any of the projects I've worked on where we're adding power through on-site generation, but it could.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess the stuff that you're seeing,
who wants to manage your own on-site power generation?
Well, I mean, you get a power producer to do it, but are most of the old enterprise data centers you're seeing, are they inside of cities? Are they like outside on the outskirts? Where are they located?
Yeah, they're great locations within metropolitan markets, downtown or around the area nearby where workforce
Okay.
has access to the site.
So doing on-site power generation inside of city limits.
I do need to jump. Sorry for my lagging.
No worries. Yes.
That could be a problem. It's available square footage. Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks, y'all.
Exactly. Thanks.
Bye, Howie. Take care.
So what about you, Sean? What are you seeing on the market? Oh, he's gone too. Okay. So Ryan, on your edge sites that you have, are you doing on-site power generation on any of your stuff, or is it all?
No, it's all grid connected. Now that'd be a lot to take on. So now it's as an enterprise operator, will some probably get into that? Sure, but I definitely see that as more as like a hyperscale or a large colo play. Personally, I interface with a lot of enterprises. I've heard no one talk about doing on-site generation myself.
So even if you're contracting with someone else, like they wouldn't do it necessarily, but like, would they look to it as a source to gain capacity?
Good point. Actually, then yes, I do have actually that on one of my sites. We have a small solar array from one of the local utility providers, but that is a good point. If it's something that someone come in, put the capital down, and we get cheaper energy, I could definitely see that as an appealing play for enterprise operators. Again, as long as that energy does come in a little bit lower cost and it's reliable. So, and not going to anger the neighbors, because we all know that's a big issue right now with data centers. We don't want to, especially being my stuff. Yeah, to your prior question, I'm all in city. I don't want, and I'm like right next to apartment buildings and daycare, and so yeah, can't anger the neighbors. Can't be a giant gas turbine.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I think that's why Bloom Energy is doing so well, right? Because they're quiet. They're, you can come in, you can get extra capacity. And they don't they don't emit any noise. They don't like emit any emissions. They're just fuel cells, right?
Yep.
Which I find really interesting. So, but if you're able to get extra power, does the equation of the building shell still hold? Like, can you get more bang for your buck? You're able to get the power. Can you put more capacity inside the same box?
I believe you can. Again, a smart designer, as long as your shell is not completely maxed out, which most people I know aren't. Yeah, I think you could. So, but again, it's going to take a smart designer. You're going to have to do your homework, and I think it's possible, personally.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that's always a really cool play. So, Josh, what are you hearing around on the chase for AI? As far as what because the use cases also differ, right? So some people are doing training, but you wouldn't do that necessarily in a brownfield because most of the brownfield retrofits are smaller. Those are going to be inference, right? Edge inference kind of stuff. They're not going to be really training models. So the race to the inference side, are you seeing any really cool use like in the middle of downtown New York, someone retrofitted something and now it's a data center? You see anything really cool like that?
I think Ryan hit the nail on the head, is that a retrofit inherently has been around a while. I don't think it's necessarily as long as the Uptime Institute stat we started talking about. It doesn't necessarily have to be around 10 years, but because no one was building massive data centers in downtown areas or suburban areas 10 or 15 years ago, it just didn't exist. So the structural limits on what you can do with alternative energy in a place that's probably best suited for edge, where they can monetize it best by someone that's willing to pay a higher premium for that space because they need that location for something related to like a smart city pilot or something IoT related, or like a low latency financial trading application or something like that. It's probably going to be the better use for that space than trying to figure out a way, for sure. Right before this, I just interviewed someone who's predicting that as the energy prices in the Middle East drive up the cost of natural gas, that LNG is not going to be palatable, and the solar farms are going to be massively popular, and the whole idea of turbines being backlogged for 12 or 18 months is going to be a moot point. But like, there's literally no room for this in the middle of a suburban or urban area to put a solar farm. There wasn't really room to deal with most of the natural gas generator turbines. By definition, were going to kind of go out in the middle of nowhere anyway, because that was their appeal. Like, get near a railroad that has gas pipeline there, and within a quarter mile or half a mile run some lines there. But then all of a sudden, the equipment became unpalatable. So I don't see that there's going to be a huge demand for making a radical change on the power footprint. I think it's a lot easier you actually shared something on LinkedIn a couple of days ago that I think is very relevant to this. You shared something about the FCC changing the licenses on low Earth orbit satellites. That's going to impact Starlink and Amazon's LEO startup. And that changes the nature also, because all of a sudden, if fiber wasn't available or if fiber was too expensive, there's more competition. It's like all of a sudden the satellite becomes part of the meet me room.
Yeah, no, I think that is really cool too. And I didn't really understand until I kind of got the graphic, and then I was like, oh, that makes so sense. So it was like, I don't know, I guess they said that rule was because they were competing with cable television or something. So remember back in the days, the Howard Hughes satellites or whatever, and so they're competing with, so they were restricted to one area and what they could do. And then they just did away with that restriction. So now you've got massive, like 700% more coverage, no more satellites. They just opened up their floodgates on where they can source to. And so I was just like, oh, well, that was like really smart. Whoever thought of that is probably Elon Musk, because of Starlink. But I was like, well, that's really helpful, I'm sure. For a lot of people who want to build out in Timbuktu but can't get service, well, now it just kind of opens up and not only just on the data center side, because I don't think data centers are using Starlink, but for the housing and the retail and everything around it, that because of the connectivity, now more people are going to be using AI, and ding, 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 we need more data centers, because we have more connectivity, which I think is really cool. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's really cool to see what happens there. Yeah, go.
It was really interesting too, because last year NVIDIA and Nokia came up with this R&D pact to build out AI applications over 6G. So this just gives more choice, because a lot of the same use case for 6G, well, if there's no towers nearby that can power 6G, then Starlink in the middle of nowhere. In the perfect use case, I remember being on a cruise in the middle. It was a transatlantic going from Fort Lauderdale to Barcelona in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. And because it was a relatively new ship, the Starlink was phenomenal. It was like, it was better internet access 1,000, 2,000 miles from land than I've had when I've been on cruises in the Bahamas.
Andy, were
Hey,
you
Josh,
gonna-
that's a great point, but I've actually had through T-Mobile access to 911 satellite service through Starlink. It's for free. It's included. And if you want to add Starlink service, if you're like to go out in the boonies a lot, that's $10 a month. So it's pretty impressive with what it can do for sure. But it also is a little scary. It kind of reminds you a little bit of Skynet. But other than that, we'll move forward, right?
For sure. No,
I think
know.
if T-Mobile and Starlink keep doing those deals together, at some point, I think we may see a convergence of that category. But
Imagine
yeah.
another company Elon Musk owns. Like, really?
So we're gonna have Ma Satellite instead of Ma Bell.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, he did miss out on one company recently, so he may want to buy T-Mobile to make up for that. You're correct.
I know. What else does a guy have to own? Really? Come on. But yeah, no, it is an interesting thing, and talking about community backlash, we can't ignore it. Like, oh my goodness. But so retrofits, if you're retrofitting a data center, they can't stop you. Like, you're already there, the use is already approved, so that people might choose to retrofit an existing data center because there's nothing they can do.
The community may not even know it's there. I mean, the reality is 10 years ago, the only people that knew about data centers outside of our industry were like people that worked on Wall Street that were following like QTS and Digital Realty or something when Jim Cramer came on to talk about it 4 times a year. It's only because of Sam Altman and Jensen Huang and now these huge community development pitchfork rallies that data centers have been deemed.
It has spread, by the way. South Africa, there was community backlash at and it actually took down a development in South Africa.
Wow.
Like,
they have legit water shortages that are way, way worse than just about anything we have in the US. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So in the Chicago area, it was on the news this morning. I caught the Elk Grove Village, which used to be kind of an industrial hub. It's always was known for having a lot of factories and things like that. And they used to brag about having a lot of water you could use and things like that. They were quoting the mayor who was complaining that data centers use too much water and they drive the electricity up. But at least he put a but in there that if data centers come in and they provide their own power, then that might be okay. All right. So so I was glad to hear the but, because usually it's all negative. Okay. So and by the way, Elk Grove Village has been on its tail for at least 10 years because of COVID and other things, people moving out of it. So it's not the industrial hub that it once was. So you'd think they would be on their begged knee to get a couple of data centers in some of the area there to help with their tax base. So
you would think,
we'll
right?
see. Yeah, you think.
Yeah, I'm sorry for interrupting. I also wondered how much of this is driving because it's an election season. And it's like, you didn't hear boo about this. Like, nobody picked up steam on this. I guess it was like maybe 6 months ago we started talking about this because it was like rumblings. but it just picked up steam and the politicians started talking about it. Now, both people who are running for agricultural commissioner in Texas, both of them are saying they want a data center, the Republican and the Democrat. The Democrat picked up on this first and picked up on the sentiment first. And then that's all he was promoting. And now the Republican one is saying that he wants a data center moratorium in Texas. And I'm just like, good luck, buddy. Like, that crap ain't happening. Do you know who's the governor?
So my conspiracy theory is, if you look at this, who benefits in the planet if there's a moratorium in the U.S. on data centers?
Evan O'Leary.
I believe it's the gentleman that that just was in the news last week with Mr. Putin visiting him, and the week before that with our president. So yes, the Chinese could be stoking this. Unfortunately, our social media, as you know, Amy, pushes a lot of false crap out there. So it's tough to, once that spigot's turned on, it's really tough to turn it off, right?
I know. I tried. Oh, talking about social media, I got banned. So Ryan, I don't know if you know this. I go onto Facebook and I try to educate people. So I entered myself into like a bunch of say no to data center groups on Facebook. And I was just like trying to be a spy. Like, I was just like in there trying to like listen in case it was like one of my communities are trying to do a development in, and like in case but I couldn't stay quiet because it was just so awful. Like, it was just not true at all, like lies. And so I started like responding and like, no, that's not true. And this is this and this is that. And then I started getting lambasted and called all sorts of names or whatever. And then I finally started like putting out articles in these groups. And then they finally kicked me out. I've been banned from the Say No to Data Center group on Facebook.
Interesting. Yeah. We in Arizona, we're about to kick off a massive initiative with the Alliance that we're going to be announcing our new committee chair of community engagement probably in the next few weeks. And we're going to be start tackling that issue directly in Arizona because, I mean, I literally live 5 minutes behind a bunch of data centers. And yeah, I hear the community sentiment, but it's like, y'all, no one's spending the capital to build these things just because. It's like you all want it. We're talking through a data center right now. We all know that, but and the irony of yelling on Facebook or Reddit or Instagram or
I know the irony. I know. It's they don't get. Oh no. See, Facebook doesn't use data centers. No, our precious Facebook is totally fine. No joke. The people have said this. You don't need data centers for Facebook.
Oh no! It's the magic cloud. That thing up in the sky, the cloud.
No, I know. And then because I went to a town hall and also spoke up at the town hall that was very one-sided. I got invited on the radio show that there was these moderators. So I go on the radio show and I'm educating and telling them and because one of the developments we have is in Caldwell County, which is where, and so I went on to that radio show. God, like people are like, oh, this person's evil and blah, blah, and also they're saying, I just laugh. I'm like, yes, I've been called all sorts of names. The best one I love is I'm the Pam Bondi of data centers. I love that one.
Wow.
I was like, well, she's actually kind of cool. She's like a very accomplished lady, so I'll take it. I don't know. Is it because I have blonde hair? I don't like. What does that mean? Like, she's kind of awesome. Okay, all right, I'll take it. I'll be Pam Bondi.
So what that means is you're covering up the data center files. That's how bad they are.
Oh, that's it. Oh, that's what that. See, I didn't get the reference. Like totally. I was like, oh, but yeah, the data center files. I'm covering it all up. That's what it is.
Goodness.
I see. All right. Well, one other thing I think we want to talk through on this whole theme of retrofitting to AI is obviously there's a talent shortage. We talked about this in some other occasions, but retrofitting an existing data center to an AI data center, do we have the talent that can handle that? Like, it's not your normal construction. When I started my construction way back in the day, that's all we did was remodeling. I couldn't hire the guys that built homes because they knew how to build something from the ground up, but actually remodeling something was a whole other ball of wax. So if we're going to go out this retrofit route, how are we doing on, what are you seeing as far as all the other labor shortages that we have? How are we going to get them done? What do you think?
If we don't have enough talent to do normal data centers, how do we have enough talent to do retrofitting with the 800 volt DC and AI and all these fun things? I can't see it.
Yeah. We're gonna have robots.
We're suffering.
I think when the electrician salaries start surpassing doctor salaries, I think we're all of a sudden going to see a lot of parents.
They're there.
No loans. Don't worry about scholarships. You just need to be an apprentice and go work for an MEP firm.
I don't disagree. It's just you have a ramp up time for that. I could bring a kid off the street that can try and be a decent little engineer in my own firm, but it still takes a couple of years to really get them up to spec, and that's just basic data center stuff. I mean, I think you're still have on ramp times, and I also, again, for those that don't know, I do a lot of internship scholarship work here in the Valley through AFCOM the Alliance, and it's hard to get the operators to admit, hey, we need interns, we need to start training the talent now. We still have that suffering. Hey, it's just what's keep stealing the old guys from each other until they retire, and then what? It's going to happen. And so we've got to stop doing that. I know we're all old guys on the phone, but we've got to start training the next talent, the next generation talent. We got to start getting out to high schools, getting colleges, community colleges, and start advocating that we've got. I mean, I fell into this 20 years ago, and I love it. I never thought I was going to be a data center guy. I think we just got to start making, getting that next generation. Hey, come be a data center person out of the gate versus, wait until you fall into it, then you find out you love it later. I don't know.
It's taking what a lot of people don't realize was taking a lot of engineers out of being able to do retrofits and builds is in the work that I do on go-to-market. Because of the generative AI tools, no one wants to spend time with sales and marketing people anymore till they're almost ready to buy. But the way you get a foot back in the door is when you show up to the decision committee and you bring the engineer with you, or you bring the IT professional with you. So we see increasingly, like chief commercial officers, founders, chief revenue officers, they want to very badly recruit people that were like IT executives in data centers at Microsoft. And they're phenomenally valuable to show up on enterprise sales. So that's another leak in the bucket. And, the money is no object for a lot of these salaries.
I don't disagree. When I have to, bring on a new strategic partner, or I'm looking for a new I'm looking for someone who's going to bring in, the smart people and not just the guy looking to take my paycheck. So I don't disagree at all. And those are the companies that I love. That okay, you've recruited from industry, they know what they're talking about. But again, then that just feeds the issue at the end of the day.
Yeah, we're back to the same. For sure. Yeah, I don't know how we get more electricians. I wish we did. I think it's I don't know. I look at my 13-year-old and I'm like, what do you want to be? And he's like, I have no idea. I'm like, okay, all right. Go be an electrician. Go be an
Make them all
electrician.
realize they're not going to be Instagram influencers.
Yeah, I know. Or gamers. Or they get paid to play games. That's no.
They do. So there's STEM programs in high school is really where it has to get started, because I think you've got to get people interested in technology at a very early age. Now, some of them may go on to be coders, but coding is going to be a different type of. You're more going to be a coder manager with AI than being a true coder going forward, right? Because I don't know, I've already utilized some things that I would have to use the graphic artist for in the past. I've had AI do it, and and after 2 or 3 revs, it comes out pretty good. So that's great. I think getting youngsters. I was involved when I ran a factory in Chicago that did bus structure. We worked with a local high school that competed in the robotics competition that they did at that level, and they actually won national championship a couple of years, and they competed against nationally. And so that was a great hook, and that was actually sponsored by National Instruments because they used their controller, and it was formed by Dean Kamen who started it years ago. So Dean Kamen is the Segway guy, he's actually invented a lot of other stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah, but STEM is important. There's more, I would push to get STEM high schools, and then hey, Ryan, your chapter of AFCOM, could you explain what AFCOM is to me? I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with it. So.
Oh yeah. Just a quick plug for AFCOM. So AFCOM is the Association for Computer Operations Management, which y'all know that was data center management back in the day. 45-year organization. I run the local chapter of Arizona. There's chapters all over the nation. If you go to AFCOM.com, take a look. And then, of course, the big national thing, as was said earlier, well, data center world, and now data center world 8 times across the globe apparently. So, but yeah, we're member education, member networking, growing the talent to tomorrow. And then in the local area, we can do the Alliance, which is 724 iMasons and AFCOM. We all work together. In addition, I'm also the president and founder of a brand new Arizona Data Center Foundation, a true C3, what's going to be focused on community engagement as well as scholarships, internships, all that fun stuff. But yeah, we're just Data Center User Group, been running this chapter for about 8 years now.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
So
Very cool.
just trying to do
That's
some good
great.
work,
Well, we have a factory that has yeah, that's wonderful. But just to let you offer, if you could get your Texas chapter in Austin area to contact us, we have a great training facility with actual switchgear in it in lovely Bastrop, Texas, right, Amy? And
Yes.
we'd be super willing to work something out to help train people on switchgear, because you're talking about that's necessary to get people trained safely in how to use it, especially when they're building data centers. But beyond that, to maintain them, correct? So let us know if we can help on that. All right.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're.
I mean, even if you got folks from your chapter that want to come down to Austin and go through the training, we'll try to work something out for you guys. All right.
Sounds good. Yeah, we do similar initiatives as part of the internship program, working with like the community college group and all that. Replicating what happened out at Nova, getting that certificate program down here. That's been part of the greater alliances. We're trying to tackle it, but we're a small group. We need the rest of the nation to jump in on this. And back to the point around STEM schools and all that. That's also a great place we can maybe stop the spread of misinformation. Is let's come in and say, hey, what we really do, and not that we're just polluting and taking all the power and killing the birds and the trees. So,
oh my gosh. Oh, and the livestock. I could go on. And we cause cancer. And I've heard it all. No, it's none of that is true. Well, this has been such a fun conversation. And look, our hour is ended. I know it's just so sad, but we will be here next week. But for those who would like to get a hold of you, Sir Ryan, how could they do that?
LinkedIn. I mean, or if you also look up RyanGroover.com, that's my personal domain. You can find me easily. So I'm very visible because I'm posting constantly about all the things going on with the chapter, all the alliance and everything. So
that's awesome. And Josh?
Yeah, just search me up on LinkedIn, Joshua Feinberg, or you can look up our website and sign up for our newsletter at dcsmi.com. And I also share pretty much 7 days a week on all kinds of tips that are especially useful for CEOs and founders throughout operators, tech, facilities, construction, real estate, investors, sales, marketing, GTM folks. The world is changing really, really fast, both in terms of AI infrastructure and how decisions are made on what to prioritize. And I think one of the best things that people in the orbit that I work in can be doing is not only upskilling from a technology standpoint, but also being very, very visible out there as educators and trusted advisors and subject matter experts. And even if they're not the most senior person on their team, is working together with the most senior subject matter experts in their companies to collectively show up and be in a place to educate and build trust at scale, starting with kids in elementary school and community stakeholders and colleges. And it's the competitive battleground.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Yes, very true. And Andy?
So LinkedIn is the best place for me. In fact, I already sent an invite to Ryan since on there. So very easy to find people on LinkedIn.
Yes.
And once again, very, very, very happy that we're the sponsor of this show. Learned a lot today. It was a very interesting show. Thank you, Amy and Ryan and Josh and the other gentlemen.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Andy.
Yeah. And that's it. We'll see all of y'all next week. I'm Amy, and I can be found on LinkedIn too. See you guys.
Take care.
Not Facebook.